Carl and Liam here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life. gbhblofficial for sure, and we're afraid of the dark. It is, of course, our talk through of the TV show Are You Afraid of the Dark? This is season 1, episode 2, The Tale of Laughing in the Dark. Yes, that is a mouthful to say, but my goodness me, as soon as when I saw this title come up, I went, motherfuckers, I forgot this was so early on, because, woo, this is a good one.
It is indeed. So it's interesting. You seem to have quite a lot. You have to remember a lot of these episodes quite well. At least when they come up, you're like, oh my God, you immediately are swept back in time to remembering them.
Yeah.
Whereas I think in Goosebumps, there was a lot of times where there were episodes you didn't really recall at all. So
Yeah.
do you think maybe you just watched more of this growing up kind of thing than Goosebumps maybe? Or
possibly, I suspect we'll get to a point where I'll be like, wait, none of this is familiar to me. Or it'll be random episodes. It depends, really. I can't remember. I mean, I think we were probably watching this on things like CITV back in the day. I think it aired on CITV and stuff like that. But I don't know if it was in order, if we were just catching random episodes here and there and so on. We shall see, I guess. Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society. Written by Chloe Brown and directed by Ron Oliver. So the same pairing from episode 1 back from episode 2. Interesting. Our cast, if you want it, we're not going to repeat the Midnight Society cast per episode. It's the same characters, the same actors. We mentioned them in episode 1. We're established them now as characters, and we'll be going there forward. So the cast for the actual story is small again, but there we go. We've got Aaron Taggart. What? Did you notice him? As the circus carny, that's where you might notice him. Yeah. But he also plays Zebo.
Oh.
And that took me by surprise. I didn't know that.
No, I did not know that at all.
Then we've got Christian Tessier as Josh, Jan and Daniel Finestone as Ouija, and Tamir Kozlov as Kathy. So that's our cast. Small, but small is not a bad thing. Sometimes it just keeps it tighter.
Can I just quickly jump ahead and say Ouija? Ouija, really? Their name is Ouija.
It's not even a nickname, because you think at some point the episode's gonna be like, oh yeah, we nicknamed you because of, I don't know, this reason you like squeegees and Ouija rhymed or something, I don't know, but it's just Ouija.
Yeah. Well. Poor child.
And continuing to what we did in episode 1 and we'll be doing going forward, this is Betty Ann's first story. So we have 2 firsts at the moment. Okay, a couple of facts. Obviously, Aaron Taggart, who portrayed the role of Dr. Vink, portrayed Zebo Circus Carney in this episode, being the only time he portrayed any other character. Because, of course, he would be in it as Dr. Vink, but not a different character going forward. Christian Tessier, who played Josh, would appear in The Tale of the Curious Camera, another episode later on. Tamir Kozlov would appear in The Tale of the Old Man Cochrane later on. And I thought this was fascinating because in the Goosebumps, I can't remember who it was, but we were stunned to find that an actor played the character of Arthur from the cartoon show Arthur. Do you remember that? Did the voice of it?
Yes, I do remember we were stunned about that.
We were like, wow, what a role. Well, Tamir Kozlov and Jodie Richter would star in the children's show Arthur as Prunella and Francine.
Oh, really?
So there you go.
Oh, cool.
Yes. Right, let's do this episode, as this does immediately take a little bit of a different start. It's one of the rare times, because for the most part, Are You Afraid of the Dark follows a formula, but this changes it slightly, as we actually open at a big amusement park. You're like, all right, okay. Now, bear in mind, 2 episodes in, nothing was established. You know what I mean? Like, so this wasn't like the whole formula hadn't been established. It's only looking back that we go, oh, this is a change to the formula. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Betty Ann narrates and explains that the park was called Playland. Well, that's an original freaking title. But it was the best amusement park around. And to be fair, it looks like those kind of amusement parks as a kid I always dreamed. I still, as an adult, dream of existing instead of the shitty stuff we get around the UK these days, you know?
Definitely. It has that whole just like it's late night, it's dark, and it's got that just like an American vibe to it. I don't know. That just seems really cool.
The Lost Boys boardwalk.
Exactly. It's got that kind of feel to it. Yeah.
And I do love this line. Their children could laugh and scream and get scared to death on the rides. I just like that line, the way she delivers it, you know? It's got that nice storytelling, ominous vibe.
Yeah, there's some really cool lines in this one.
Yeah, I think she's actually a really good narrator. I think she's an improvement over Frank.
Yeah.
The park was called Playland, and it was the best. You could laugh and scream and get scared to death on rides and stuff up on junk food and ditch your parents, all in one night. And there was a spook house called Laughing in the Dark.
At Playland, there was a spook house called Laughing in the Dark, and it was basically a maze. You follow a path, scary monsters jump out and stuff like that. Awesome stuff. But when you get to the end, there are a series of numbered doors. Basically, you pick the right one to go free. Pick the wrong one, something scary comes out. And we see two young girls opening a door, and oh my God, this fucking clown. How is this never mentioned in the scariest looking clowns? Because this clown absolutely looks terrifying. My God, I am still amazed by it. I think as a kid, I was amazed by it. But my God, Zeebo is terrifying looking.
I think they did a really great job with the design and making him really freaky looking. Can I just quickly ask you, are you a fan of clowns?
I have no issue. I have no issue with them. To be honest, if I see clown horror movies, I tend to groan because they tend to go one or two ways. But I have no fear of them. I've seen clowns in a circus. I find them more mildly amusing rather than laugh out loud. Of course, we have our icons of clown-related horror. I mean, it's probably just the two people that have played Pennywise. Well, does Art, Art the Clown. Yeah, Art from Terrifier. He's got a bit of the mime thing going on as well, more than that. But yeah, so I couldn't really care less.
Yeah, I mean, obviously some people have like a major fear of clowns,
fear.
like a massive thing. Yeah, for me, I don't really have. It's not something that particularly scares me, but I do wonder, especially these types of old-fashioned traditional clowns, like a Pennywise, for example, how they became like kids entertainers type thing that you have at like children's party and that sort of thing. A lot of modern clowns, they drop the whole like colors and the thick makeup and the red nose. They don't really do that. They're kind of just like normal people acting like a clown or acting like a comedic character. You can kind of see why.
Yep. I dated a girl back in the day that how was scared of clowns.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it was annoying as fuck. Okay, so that's an introduction to Zeebo. Kirsten interrupts Betty Ann because it turns out Kirsten might be a bit scared and decides she's going to leave. Like Frank's like, hey, what's the problem, man? What's going on? Betty Ann's like, I'm just getting started. Why are you going already? But Kirsten does reveal that she actually does have a fear of clown stories. They give her nightmares. She finds them creepy. She's one of them. Literally what we're talking about. But of course, her friends or people that she knows are totally supportive and instead, start mocking her, including Eric saying she has bozophobia, which is not a thing. But the one that I think was really mean is Kiki points out to everyone, goes, oh, look, we found something wrong with Miss Perfect. And I was like, ooh, that is some bitchiness, right?
The cat has claws.
Yeah, right? I mean, I thought that was just like, whoa, okay. But then I was also like, I like this. I like to see a little bit of rivalry and a little bit of like, things going on outside of the main story.
Yeah, we do see that quite a lot going forward, is the little like subplot type things going on amongst the camp storytellers at the same time, which, I quite like that actually. And it does tie into the whole fact that, they're not friends, they don't really know each other, and they're all quite judgmental of one another. I think that's quite interesting.
I think it's so important to remember that we shouldn't use the word friends when we're referring to this group, But it's enough to kind of convince Kristen to sit down. She tells Betty Ann, do your worst. So Betty Ann submits a story for the approval of Minute Society. Of course, it's called A Tale in the Laughing in the Dark. And the story surrounds a teenage boy named Josh, his best friend, Ouija, and his little sister, Kathy. And are hanging around at the Playland amusement park. Josh is a bit of a dick, basically. He's a little bit of an arrogant, I'm not scared of anything. You know this story. He's going to get his comeuppance to a degree. He's cocky, a little bit of a bully as well. Particularly, how he treats Ouija. His sister, I get, that's just sibling shit. That's Goosebumps 101. But Ouija, I don't love the way he treats him. And it's like, Ouija probably shouldn't be a friend anymore.
I agree. And also, more often than not, we see these a lot of Goosebumps episodes and either for the Dark episodes, they don't really take it from the perspective of who you consider to be the bad guy of the story. Normally, the bad guy is like the side character, and they're the ones that you said they get to come up. And so it's quite interesting that this takes it from the perspective of what is the bully, really.
Yeah. The trio arrive at the Laugh in the Dark spook house, and Kathy is like, I'm not going in there. Basically tells a story, said it's supposed to be haunted by a clown ghost named Zebo. Of course, no doubt the carnival would have spread that because, hey, want to make this scary and want to make people scared to come in and be brave enough to take it on and so on. Clever stuff. And of course, Josh being a massive dick is all like, yeah, it's just a kid's ride. You're both chicken. Even does the whole squawking thing, which, you know.
Yeah, he's quite the dick throughout this episode.
He is. But doing that, he bumps into a creepy-looking man in a striped suit. It's the circus carney who runs the place, of course, Aaron Taghar in the role. And he's like, hey, you don't believe, basically, so go in, right? If you don't believe it, go in. And of course, make sure you pick the right door. You'll go free. And this is where you get that whole Josh is a bit of a big mouth. You know, he's not brave enough. And, I'll go another time. Busy tonight. That kind of thing. It's like, you little prick.
It's the most fun in the park when you're laughing in the dark.
We cut back to the Midnight Society as Kirsten's looking tense and like David, like, oh, you okay? You sure you want to carry on? And so on. Kiki taunts her because, you know, that's what they do. But yeah, basically, no, we're going to carry on, keep the story going. Yeah, everyone wants to know what happened next, basically. I do like that as well, that they actually do seem interested in each other's stories.
Yeah.
We cut back to Ouija and Kathy the next day, do some research on a place and discover that the place's background story in 1924, a circus came to town and was set up by Playland Amusement Park. One of the clowns, a smoker named Zebo, stole the circus's payroll of $4,000 back in 1924. Goodness me, that would have been a lot of money.
Yeah, that's true.
The police chased after him. He ran into Playland and hid from the police in the Laughing in the Dark spook house. He would have got away from it, but while hiding, he continued to smoke for some reason, dropped the cigar, started a fire, burned down the spook house with him in it. There you go, kids. He burnt to death.
There you go.
So yeah, years later, a new Laugh in the Dark spook house was built with a Zebo dummy at the end to scare anyone who walked into it. And that to me is even more fucked up. You're like, all right, let's put like a monument or like a model of the dude or the clown that died in this exact place. Like, oh, that might be pushing it.
Who approved that?
And of course, the urban legends that Zebo still haunts the place. Doing all this, Josh decides to interrupt them, tickles Kathy, and chases her out of the house. And like, this annoys Ouija, and I'm glad he gets annoyed. He's like, look, man, you talk so much shit, basically. Go to it. Go into the Laughter in the Dark alone. Go there. And Josh, being called up by Ouija, says, look, I'm going to go there. I'm going to get Zebo's nose, prove I made it to the end. And if I win this bet, Ouija will have to wear Zebo's nose to school for a week. Now, I love that this is seen as like, oh my God. But like, I mean, it ain't that big of a deal, right? I mean, maybe I'm forgetting school, but like, once like the initial laughs die down and people are like, why are you wearing that nose? I mean, to be honest, the teachers are going to go get the nose off immediately. That's
straight away. I think he could have done, but I think he could have done better, really.
That night, Josh enters the spook house, and all the way through, he's nervous and scared. And we do get a cool scare here where he thinks he sees the real Zebra behind one of the house mirrors, but then he thinks, they're just trying to scare me and so on. And yes, Josh, you're exactly right. It's a spook house. That is what they're trying to do. So at least he's got that. When he gets to the end, he gets to the numbered doors. I must say, you know what, actually, let's stop here. I love the look of this maze. I love the look of the doors. I just love the look of the I love amusement park. So, you know, I love it.
Yeah, I do. I love the traditional design of it. Also, you missed one small thing, which was there's a part where he's walking down a corridor and this kind of dragon type pop thing pops out and it breathes real fire towards the pathway that you would be walking in. Real fire, like a flamethrower. That is just an accident waiting to happen. And it hasn't been closed down. My only theory was this. it's an insurance scam because it burned down the last time. They rebuilt it with the money from the insurance, right? And I think that's what I had the theory, even though I know where it goes, but I had a theory that that's where this is going. It's going to be revealed insurance scam, and Zebo didn't die in a fire, nothing like that. That's what it was.
There it is. Yes, unfortunately, it's not quite the case. He opens the door and he actually finds the right one. He's just like, oh, cool, there's the hour pointing me out. It's all right, he's ready to go. But then he remembers, of course, he has to get the nose. So he goes and opens the rest of the doors and finds that Zebo clown. What I'll mention it again, but it's also that it doesn't just open it. It's not just a clown standing there. It comes out. So it's a generally frightening thing for a person that went through it. After he screams, he kind of realizes it's a dummy. And again, they shoot this well because from a sinister angle, they now take it to like almost Josh's mind, where it's like, no, it's a dummy. We see it's a dummy. What's to be scared of?
Yeah, I think it is also worth highlighting the acting in this episode, even though in the previous episode I was quite critical of the acting. I thought this was a much bigger improvement. And I mentioned the acting as well, specifically because one of the things that I always found superior about Eye of the Dark was the acting compared to Goosebumps, because more often than not, they would cast older kids in Eye of the Dark because of the subject matter. Some of the things they had to do, maybe they had to have older kids for some of the stunts and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so I think it's worth mentioning.
I think it is worth mentioning as well, because the guy who plays Josh has to do a lot of lone acting, a lot of doing stuff on his own, reacting to things that we don't see, he can't see. It's not easy. So good on him for that.
Definitely.
He does steal Zebo's nose, and now super confident, because he's the guy who beat Zego, taunting the dummy and basically insulting it and so on.
All right. Thanks, guy. You just made me a hero. I'm the guy who beat Zebo.
He leaves, and for our eyes, because he's now gone, the camera cuts to the door Zebo is behind, and we see smoke billowing out from underneath it, along with an eerie white light. So spooky shenanigans are going to take place. And I must say, up to this point, while nothing traditionally spooky has happened, the whole vibe of the episode is sinister. You know what we're getting here. You know we're going to clown-related horror. So the building up to it and so on. I was so in love with this episode, man. Like, I was glued. I've seen this episode loads, and I was just glued. Like, oh yeah, I have to write notes at the same time. Couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Back to the campsite. Eric now apparently is too scared and says he has cramp. And Kirsten is pulling him down to say, look, you're staying with me for this. Kiki continues to taunt her, telling her just to give up. But Kirsten insists, nope, keep going. So we continue. I'm not really sure the purpose of jumping back to the campsites for these very small segments of Kirsten kind of going through it. I don't think it was necessary here.
Yeah, I think it's a bit much, and they don't do it quite as much as it goes along, so...
True. The next day, Josh continues to boast about beating Zebo, and Ouija reluctantly admits, like, yeah, I'm the loser, you're the hero. After being teased by him, Ouija throws the clown Josh's nose in the bushes, and when Josh goes to retrieve it, he thinks he smells cigars, but obviously there's nothing around. So that's kind of why we're getting those little hints. He gets the nose and leaves. However, again, for our eyes, we see cigar smoke coming from behind Ouija and Kathy's house, along with a sinister laugh. Don't see anything, just this again. We are running out of time, so we must ramp up now. That night, Josh comes home, and his parents have left a note saying they're at the theatre, have left food for him, and they're not to stay up too late playing video games. So you didn't want to invite him to the theatre? Lovely parenting.
I mean, I don't want to go into it again from Goosebumps, but it feels like they carried something over from that, and the bad parenting cliche, man. It feels like it's back again. 2 episodes in a row. Come on now, these parents, man. Why did they have kids?
All the cliche should turn up. You know, we are 2 episodes in, and this episode doesn't have it. But my goodness me, the first time therapy gets offered out is going to be a cheer moment.
Can't wait.
Yeah. His food is like spaghetti and a part of chocolate pudding, which actually drops on the floor when he hears the noise from the closet. You know, he starts getting a bit nervous. But hey, he gets a baseball bat. Like, go on, Josh. That's what I want to see.
I don't know about you, man, but I think by far the most horrifying part of this episode is the dropping of the pudding. It's a massive bowl of chocolate pudding. What the hell, Josh? Come on.
It depends. I would never eat something like that. I hate that kind of food. So like, to me, get rid of it.
I was devastated.
Josh sort of threatens if someone's in the closet, he's going to beat them up. But of course, there's nobody in there when he check. He continues. He kind of talks himself down a bit. He's like, "Oh, don't be doing this. If Ouija sees you, it'll be really embarrassing. You look like a bit of an idiot, and he'll tease you and so on." And he gets a phone call then from Ouija. Would Ouija call him to apologize for complaining and acting like a baby earlier? Since Josh won the bet fair and square, and I'm kind of like, why are you calling to apologize to him? Fair enough, you don't have to act whiny. You made the bet, he won, end of. But man, the guy's been a dick to you, calling up to apologize. I think someone's a little bit of a simp for Josh.
Maybe just a bit.
But Josh says, look, it's cool, accept the apology, and look, we're friends, so you'll only have to wear the clown nose for one day. But Ouija turns out to be disappointed because he's kind of like, can we not just call it off completely? Josh is like, no, man, no, like, you're going to do it one day, and then hangs up, laughing, relaxed a bit now, and so on. But the phone rings immediately again, and this time a voice tells him to give it back.
One day's the best I'm gonna do.
Give it back. Give it back.
Josh rightfully figures it's Ouija playing a prank. I think that's like a really normal reaction because it comes so soon afterwards, and considering what the conversation's been about, why wouldn't you think it was the case?
Yeah, that's a smart reaction.
So he goes to have dinner, and but goes in the kitchen, and the microwave is smoking, and he's like, well, why is it burning already? It's like, okay. However, he opens it, and his spaghetti isn't there anymore. It's a pot filled with burnt, smoking cigars. I like that visual. I thought it was cool.
So hot that he takes it out with his bare hands.
I didn't really notice that. Good catch. Okay, ain't that hot then? Yeah. But then he notices a footprint with a Z in the spilled pudding on the floor, and like that freaks him out. That's enough to freak him out. Running upstairs, he calls Ouija and basically demanding, "Look, did you call me before? Did you prank me before? And now admits, look, I've been scared along. I was scared of the spook house, and I'm scared now." And he's like kind of trying to get. All he needs is Ouija to say, "Yeah, it was me," basically. But that isn't the case because another caller. So when you used to back in the day have a second phone in the house, and if you picked it up, you'd maybe hear a click on your end of the line, making it clear someone else had picked up the receiver. If you're old enough, you might remember doing that. That's what happens. Josh demands that Kathy put it down. But Ouija started like, look, we only have one phone in this house. It's in your house. And that is some Black Christmas shit, man. I was like, boom! That. I felt a little chill. Like, that is, that's scary, man. Imagine that. Just the realization that somebody's in your house and has picked up that receiver.
Yeah, the tension's really starting to build at this point, so it's a really cool moment.
I was scared on the ride, and I'm really scared now. Was that you?
Give me a break. Why would I?
What was that? Is that you, Kathy? Put down the phone.
Josh, we only have one phone. It's gotta be at your house.
If you don't give it back, I'll come up and get it.
Who was that?
It is, and the voice says, if you don't give it back, I'll come up and get it. And it's that term there, come up.
Yeah,
you're like,
that's
ooh.
creepy. That's creepy, man.
Indeed. Josh obviously shits himself, locks his bedroom door, and is out the window, particularly when a purple balloon goes under the crack of the door, blows up, with written on it, give it back, and then pops. That is some super Pennywise shit going on there. I love this episode. Josh runs back to the Laughing in the Dark and basically makes his way through it, gets to the last room, and gives back Zeebuz's nose. He's done with this. He's like, I took it. I've upset you. Let's do it. He apologizes and brought Zebo a peace offering, which is a box of cigars, which he sets down and leaves. I won't ask any questions about where the hell the kid got a box of cigars. I'm going to presume he robbed them from his father.
Yeah.
But that's not cheap. He is going to have to do some explaining. A box of cigars missing from the house, you're going to get the blame, Josh. He sets them down and leaves, and it seems to work as Zebo accepts the peace offering. And at the end of the story, the Carney of the Laughing in the Dark basically says a signature line. It's the most fun in the park when you're laughing in the dark. And then we see him smoking a cigar, implying that he was Zebo's ghost or responsible for taunting Josh all along. Take that as you want to look at. I feel like it's a little open for interpretation there, because we never saw a ghost. We never saw Zebo, really. We heard, we smelt, we had a few spooky things going on, but they also could arguably be explained from a human perspective of someone going in, breaking into the house, tormenting and taunting, and so on.
Yeah.
I think it's up in the air.
It's the most fun in the park when you're laughing in the dark.
I like the open-endedness of it, and also it doesn't make it any less creepy or scary that this weird carnival guy may have been sneaking into his house and making calls, and he's clearly like a bit of a psychopath himself. So it doesn't lessen the impact.
It doesn't.
It's up to you whether or not what you want to believe, like you said.
I think both are frightening. I think both are frightening. That's the thing. One's, be a sinister ghost. I do love the fact that they never actually really let you see Zebo outside of the dummy, the model. I think that's really, really smart. Well, we should go back to the campfire, where obviously Kiki continues to tease Kirsten, but Kirsten's proud. Look, I made it all the way through the story. I'm okay. I am cool. And that is until Eric startles her in a clown mask, because they're all dicks to each other in this episode, and she runs off. He then chases after her, David chases after him, and Gary quickly kind of closes the meeting, puts the fire out, and then chases after his friends. And that's how we wrap it up. A little bit of lightness in an episode that doesn't have a lot of lightness, if I'm honest. It plays tension heavy, scares all the way through, and it's better for it. This might be one of the most memorable episodes I've ever seen. As soon as, like I said at the start, as soon as it came back, I was like, I know this episode. I remember I could picture Zebo in my head before I even saw him again. And that was like, oh, that's an interesting impact to have, because it's been decade plus, if not longer than that, since I've seen this episode. I remembered it. I remembered how it could be frightening for many ages. That's the thing. It's a wide array. I think it scared people. Plus, of course, the overarching clown fear that people will have anyway. This, to me, is approval for me.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that's as big of a compliment as you can pay pretty much anything, is that it's memorable.
Yeah,
and I agree. This is very memorable for me as well. They did a great job with Zebo's design, like I said, and it's got sort of a moral lesson to it about the dangers of peer pressure and not allowing someone to, even though he is a bully character, not allowing someone to peer pressure you into doing something that you don't want to do, and how there can be consequences for doing that. And it's also a moral lesson about creepy, sus carnival workers, to be aware of them.
I'm glad you said that, because I was just thinking in my head, I was thinking when he's done talking, I'm going to jump in and say, also the moral lesson is don't fuck with carnies. They will be problems. But you've already said it, yeah.
Not the messages there. But yeah, I really like it. I think it's a huge improvement over the first episode.
Agreed. It is that. This is the fire well and truly lit. Very, very happy to see it. Episode 2 of season 1, The Tale of Laughing in the Dark. We're afraid of the dark. Are you? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?